She was born a black woman when by law women could not vote, and when despite law when blacks could rarely vote. When she was 17, she was admitted to Barnard College, the women's half of Columbia University, but was not allowed to take classes there because Barnard was already at its unofficial quota of 2 black women students. She was one of the team leaders in the civil rights movement, on the platform with Martin Luther King during his I Have a Dream speech. She worked with leaders from Eleanor Roosevelt to President Kennedy to President Obama. Dorothy Height died this morning in Washington of natural causes. She takes with her the love of thousands, the admiration of millions, and an extraordinary slice of American history. Dorothy Irene Height was 98 years old. Her death and her lifelong fight against prejudice provides an extraordinary context for our 4th story. Only the governor of Arizona now stands in the way of an extraordinarily new immigration bill that seems right out of the pages of Barnard 1929. It is so heinous, it has inspired one of Arizona's congressmen to propose an economic boycott of his own state. He will join us in a moment. Today, Latino members of Congress called on Arizona's Governor Jan Brewer to veto the bill, now passed by the state legislature. The proposed law would require immigrants to carry their alien registration documents at all times and require police to question people if they have a reason to suspect that they are in the United States illegally. Translation: stop people of color at will. Congressman Luis Gutierrez, the chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, said the proposed bill also infringes on the federal government's authority to enforce immigration laws and will open the door to abusive enforcement. Quoting the congressman, "I'm Puerto Rican. I was born in Chicago. My family has been U.S. citizens for generations, but look at my face. I'd probably get picked up in Arizona and questioned. Is that what we want in America?" As for the birther bill, it has so far only passed the Arizona House of Representatives. It calls for future presidential candidates to prove that they are citizens before their name can appear on that state's ballot, and gives the Arizona Secretary of State discretion to keep a candidate's name off the ballot for reasonable cause. And if it became law, it would presumably apply to President Obama should he run for re-election in 2012. Such a law could provide, more than anything else, another way for the birthers to sue over the issue of the president's citizenship. Past lawsuits on that issue have been summarily dismissed. Let's bring in, as promised, Congressman Raul Grijalva of Arizona's 7th District. Congressman, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Keith.
I've never heard of a congressman in the history of this country proposing retribution against his own state, so I'm assuming you're even angrier about this than I am.
No, it is. We're codifying into law, if the governor signs this, racial profiling, discrimination under the Constitution. We're codifying the fact that law enforcement now has a free hand to stop anybody that looks the part in terms of undocumented people, ask them for verification. It's unprecedented, and it's a horrible, horrible precedent for the nation. And we can't allow it to continue as though there's no consequences. And the consequences that we can only bring up right now is economic sanctions. We're asking organizations, civic, religious, labor, Latino organizations of color, to refrain from using Arizona as a convention site, to refrain from spending their dollars in the state of Arizona until Arizona turns the clock forward instead of backwards and joins the rest of the union.
This is your state. You know the politics of it. Is this going to hold, or are reasonable minds going to come in and go, no, we're in the 21st century. This is not Tombstone 1889.
Unfortunately, we also have Sheriff Arpaio. We have a mentality that has made immigration the whipping child for every issue involved. And while I hope that the governor uses her veto discretion to stop this bill, I'm not optimistic. And I think this fight is going to be both legal, political, and economic.
Am I wrong about this sort of behind the Iron Curtain quality here, that somebody whose ancestors moved to this country in 1777 could be pulled over and asked to produce their papers like we were in some sort of, as I said before, Hollywood World War II movie?
Absolutely. You know, I'm a citizen. I'm a member of Congress. I can be pulled over in my hometown of Arizona by local law enforcement and produce verification that I am indeed legally in this country. So it's not just looking to see who's undocumented. The profile is toward a group of people. And when you make that profile, you make it discriminatory. You make it fundamentally racist, because that's what you're asking people to enforce. And in doing so, you have violated all the important tenets of the Constitution and the rule of law.
And what stops this from being expanded even further? Not to suggest this isn't bad enough as it is, and the racism element is not as disturbing as anything I've seen. But if I come on now and say Arpaio is a jackass, and my picture now goes up on a wall somewhere, could they pull me over? Could they pull anybody over? Anybody in Arizona, any Republican in Arizona, and say, let me see your papers, and if you don't have it, you're going in for a while?
It's discretionary. That's the whole problem with the law. And the discretion is not with us. The discretion is with the authorities, and that's what makes this dangerous. It's a dangerous precedent. This is where we're asking the Obama administration to intercede, to say they will not cooperate with this law if it's signed into law, and if they don't cooperate, then the law has no effect. Second of all, it begs the question: if we don't pass immigration reform in this country, we're allowing Arizona to set a precedent for other states, other communities to be equally unconstitutional, equally discriminatory, and equally punitive. And I think this precedent needs to be defeated, and it has to be defeated on many fronts.
It almost overwhelms and obscures this other action about the House passing, the Arizona House passing the birther bill. Give me a few of your reactions to that.
That's unbelievable, to give a Secretary of State discretion on who can be on the ballot, and if you don't produce whatever information you're being asked to produce, then you're not a candidate. It's unbelievable. It's embarrassing to those of us from the state of Arizona who feel that we're much better than that.
Congressman Raul Grijalva, who is one of the great representatives of that state. Great thanks for some of your time tonight. Good luck with this, and we'll stay in touch with you on it if we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.